Tim Holland, the author of Sports Talk Radio is a Waste of Time, and so is this book, which can be found on Amazon, Borders, Kindle, Google, or anywhere where books are sold online. Today, we're going to discuss Major League Baseball Hall of Fame voting. The 2011 Hall of Fame class was elected. We're not going to discuss who made it. We're going to discuss the voting process itself. We're going to discuss the voting process as it pertains to the steroid era, which is considered from 1990 through about 2005 in Major League Baseball. Now, most people feel that anyone who cheated during that time or was alleged to have cheated should not be elected to the Hall of Fame. That's not for me to discuss, and that's not for me to answer. But here's my question to those who vote on the Hall of Fame. Why so righteous now? Why weren't you righteous 15 years ago when the whole steroids era began? I went to a small college in northern Florida in the mid-1980s, and even I knew that the steroids era was going on. We had players that were trying to make it to the major leagues at that time who were taking needles and steroids, and we knew that they were doing it, and they told us flat out they were trying to do it to make the major leagues. Them and their counterparts are the players who went into the 1990s as steroids users. The only writer I know of at that time, or anyone in the media, who mentioned anything about any ball player taking steroids was Thomas Boswell of the Washington Post, who had slight accusations, actually wrote an article about whether or not Jose Canseco was using steroids. Now, the only other person I heard of after that was 10 years later when Bob Costas was doing a broadcast with Joe Morgan, and he mentioned that maybe, just maybe, the players were juiced. All during this period, all we heard from Major League Baseball was the balls are juiced, or the ballparks are smaller, or the pitching's not that great, or the hitters have just gotten better. No one, besides Boswell or Costas that I know of, mentioned anything about anybody using steroids. Most of the time, all we heard was, oh, these young players are taking creatine and going to the weight room. I heard this all the time as I coached little kids from Little League up through the Babe Ruth League and into high school. It was always, are you taking the creatine? Or this player's taking creatine and he's getting this much bigger and this much stronger. So my question to you is, if I knew about it and many of the people around me knew about it, how could everybody in Major League Baseball, from owners to players and media, which includes television and writing and radio, not know about it? The only way you couldn't know about it is if you buried your head in the sand and didn't pay attention to it. That's the only way that you couldn't know about it. Now, 15, 20 years later, you're going to be righteous and say you're not going to vote for Jose Canseco or Mark McGwire or Sammy Sosa or Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds after making all this money off of them from television and radio and writing, books, magazines, and whatever? Remember the summer of 1998 when Sosa and McGwire were breaking records with their home runs? Everybody was so happy, and everybody was making money off of them. Now all of a sudden that money's no good? Here's my question to the writers. Why'd you wait until after Jose Canseco rode juice to all of a sudden get on the bandwagon against steroids? Why didn't you get ahead of the curve and do it before he did? Even when Canseco came out with the book, the first thing you did was try to kill the messenger instead of listening to the message. What was the first thing everybody said? Oh, Canseco, he broke the code of the locker room. He told locker room secrets that he shouldn't have told. But once everybody found out that what Canseco was saying had some merit, then all of a sudden it turned on the players and, oh, the players were wrong for doing what they did. They shouldn't have done it. They hurt the game. There should be asterisks besides all their records. Where were the asterisks when they were breaking the records? Where were you guys when they were breaking the records? You were there in the flesh. You turned away from it. You fell asleep. Now you're becoming righteous. I'll tell you what. I'll believe how righteous you are when you take all the money that you made back during the steroids era, from your writing, from your television, from your articles. Give it back. Give it back. When you do that, then I'll believe how righteous you really are.